So I want to talk about a couple things here before I go into the store. Me as a person, I have already went through the religious stage. I have already went through the being a comedian for people stage. I've already went through the young boy stage. I already went through the puppy love stage. I've already went through the trying to be a holy man, a righteous man, a saintly man stage. And I went back to that just a little bit ago in my life to re-examine that for myself. And I'm glad that I did that. I'm really glad that I did that. And I went through this stage where I would just act crazy and wild for people. See, I have already went through all of these stages in my life where I have examined how I was for a time and how I got here right now as I'm speaking to you in a video, whoever's listening. And in doing that, when I hear words like sacred, like if we say something, sex is sacred, life is sacred, marriage is sacred, the family is sacred. When we use these words, this is simply putting pressure on ourselves to be a certain way for the rest of the world. When really all sacred means is, it means that the person is content with how their life is going. And that thing, they see that thing as the thing that is keeping them around here, so they call it sacred. A musician will call his music or her music sacred because that's all they know. An artist will call his drawings or his paintings or his art sacred because it's all that him or her knows. But as I went further in life, and being a 37-year-old man right now, I don't see anything in my life as being sacred. I might use that word accidentally, or I might use it in a way where I'm meaning it in a different way from this video. But even when someone says something like sex is sacred, here's how I see it for myself. We are natural people with natural tendencies, and we have hormones. Men have testosterone and women have estrogen, and even women, I'm pretty sure, have a little testosterone, and men have a little estrogen. But these are natural things that we do, that we want to do, that we desire to do. And when we're trying to thwart those things and we're trying to be saintly or a holy person, all that it does, and I know because I did this to myself, I put this pressure on myself at one time and a few times in my life, and I know that as long as I am being responsible with what I'm doing, and I'm not hurting another sentient creature, and I'm not polluting the air and the water and the food, I can do whatever I want, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, as long as I'm being responsible and I'm not overdoing it. See, this sacred thing, trying to be a saintly person, all that it's doing is it is causing that person over time to turn into an atomic bomb ready to go off and explode because they can't express the natural things that they have. When they need to release, they can't release. They have to hold on to it because this thing is sacred. And I ask anyone out there watching, I'm asking myself though, who are we doing this for? God, our family, ourselves, other people? Who are we doing this for? Like, who are we holding back our natural things for other people? And even in semen retention, now don't get me wrong, semen retention, it does work and it does help a man to have more energy. I know because I did it. I practiced it myself over the last couple months. I would go a period of time without doing the thing and without releasing. And yes, I would have more energy. I would feel better. I would want to move around more. And it does. It does. It helps in that aspect. But at the same time, if it gets to be to a point where I'm like, oh my gosh, like you just get that feeling in the pit of your stomach when you see a really good looking woman or something and she got some nice breasts and a big bottom and whatever, and you're like, oh my goodness, like, wow. And you're thinking about it. There is nothing wrong if you need to release that you go and do it. What is the point of holding on to it and holding on to it? And like, what are we waiting for a time to make this thing so special? It's going to be such a special time if I just keep holding on. And then in that time, when you finally do release, it's going to be the same thing as when you did it 5 days or a week and a half or whatever it was. It's the same exact thing. Time does not mean anything. It's just how you see it as being that. If I need to release, I'm going to release. If I am like, oh my goodness, I need to do this because it's my natural tendency to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to put the pressure on myself to not do that thing. Why would I do that? As long as I'm not doing it too much, as long as I'm not abusing what I have as a person, then it does not matter. Like, why am I holding back these things? For who? Who am I holding these back for? Why am I holding them back? And there's so many people in the world that do this. There's so many people in our world that we have been conditioned and we have been programmed and we have been brainwashed to think that natural things are bad things, that natural things are sin, that natural things are it's our fault that we do these things. We have our whole perception messed up here. We have our whole perception of this whole thing messed up. And I know for myself, there was a time in my life where when I had to release myself, I thought that it was wrong. I felt ashamed and embarrassed. And I still do kind of get this feeling when I do the thing myself. I just feel kind of icky in a way, even though there's no need to feel like that because it's something natural. It's just releasing a natural thing from you. But see, the problem with us is we abuse these things. We don't have discipline in our lives. This is when it gets out of control. People like Ted Bundy and other serial killers that they said that porn and stuff like that was their fuel. But see, they had no discipline. They didn't know how to control that thing. You see what I'm saying? And they abused it. They used it in a way, and I'm not trying to judge anybody. I don't even want to sit here and judge Ted Bundy, even though he did horrible things, because I can't judge anyone. I can't judge you and I can't judge me. Well, judge things accordingly. You see what I'm saying? But all the other judgments don't matter, because when I judge someone, all that I'm doing is judging myself. It's just like Matthew chapter 7. And you don't have to be a Christian to read the words that it says. Judge and you will be judged. Do not judge and you won't be judged. You see, this is a reflection thing that each one of us, we have to do for ourselves if we do it. And the more that you practice things like that, the more you see how you start taking accountability for your actions, and you realize, if I take accountability and I'm responsible for what I'm doing, I can do anything I want to do. Anything I want to do at all. As long as I'm not hurting any sentient creature, as long as I'm not polluting the air and the water, as long as I'm being responsible for me, it doesn't matter. I don't have to be this saintly man. I don't have to see things as being sacred in my life. You see, there's no need for me to call music sacred. It's music. It's a feeling. It's a vibe. It's a thing happening in that time that comes. And it happens. And then it goes and it fades, and then it comes back from time to time. Sex is something so natural. You get horny and your hormones are raging and you have to release that thing. There is nothing wrong with these things. And see, the reason I am doing this is because there are a lot of people, I know there are a lot of people out there, they might be in this frame of mind that if I masturbate, I'm doing something wrong. If I have sex, I'm doing something wrong. And there's other examples I could use, but I wanted to specifically talk about sex and the ways that we've been conditioned to think that we have to be, or we should be, or we shouldn't be. Do this thing, but not this thing. You see, this is what a person like me, I will never, ever, ever conform to anything. I will never, ever, ever conform to anything. I will never conform to any ideology, because see, ideologies are things that it gets you to go by a certain set schedule. You have to be a certain way. You can do this, but you can't do that. And there's so many ideologies out here that people fall for. And I'm telling you, the only freedom to me is being a neutral being and seeing both things. You are literally, if you're like me, anything like me, you are a optimistic pessimist. And you are a pessimistic optimist. You can't get away from the fact, we cannot get away from yin and yang, black and white. We cannot do it. It's impossible. When we come to that truth, because that is the truth of reality, that there are bad and good things that happen. There are horrible things and there are glorious things that we look at and go, wow, that's something. Like when you look at a good-looking female, the eye of your own beholder. When I look at a good-looking female, I'm like, man, that is something else. I want a time with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing. If she can be responsible and I can be responsible and it say that we're part, like we get together and we go get a test to make sure we don't have any diseases. And if her tubes are tied, then I don't have to wear a condom. But if her tubes ain't tied, then I'm going to wear a condom because I'm not getting a woman pregnant, because I'm not bringing a kid into this world. I know better than to do that. But see, it's really strange that some of the most irresponsible people are most of the time religious people trying to be saintly. The most irresponsible people are people that claim to be some way, but then again, they're not practicing any of the way that they say they are. This is why I don't get caught up in any of that stuff. I don't label myself as anything at all other than a human being with natural tendencies. I don't get hung up on either side. I don't get hung up on pessimism and I don't get hung up on optimism because I'm both of them. How can I say I'm an optimist? You can't be an optimist all the time. You can't be optimistic about everything here. That's stupid. And you can't be pessimistic about everything here because not everything is pessimistic. If you fall and you scrape your leg, that's pessimistic. But the optimism of that is that you can get an ointment spray and you can put a Band-Aid on it and it will heal. That's the optimism of it. The optimism of sex is you can have sex. And I'm just using sex as an example because I think sex is an awesome, wonderful thing. As long as it's not being abused and as long as you're not just pumping out children to pump out children here. That is the most irresponsible thing that any of us can do. And I'm not talking, listen, this is not me getting on people that have kids or whatever. Yes, I myself am an antinatalist. I'm not having children. If you have children, then treat your children accordingly. Let your children do what they want to do, but teach them to be responsible. Teach them to be accountable. Teach them disciplines in their life. But you gotta let the child and the person do what they want to do. That's the only freedom here. There is no other freedom besides that. The only freedom that I see here is being neutral and understanding both sides of the pendulum. You are the seesaw, and you're always going to be the seesaw. You're always going to be going up on one side and down on the other side. So if you can get it as close to where it's just doing it a little bit, then that means you're getting more centered in a way where you're understanding things for yourself. You're understanding that you don't need to be a saintly man for anybody. You don't need to look at anything like it's sacred because you're already responsible for yourself. You see what I'm saying? There's no need. These words and these ideas, these ideologies are extra baggage for the person. There's no need for it. And the more that time has gone on, and the more that I have deliberately put myself in the shoes of religious people, of atheists, of people that are into the sex industry, actors, children, young men and women, older men and women, like everything, the whole spectrum I have looked at honestly, and I have put myself in the shoes of the worst of the worst and the best of the best things. And what you are left with, you are left with knowing that you get one life. And as long as you're not overdoing things, as long as you're responsible, you can do whatever the hell you want to do. And anything that anybody says to you that they're trying to put something on you, that is just their own opinion, their own view. That is just some conditioning, some programmed thought, some upbringing mentality, some tradition, some kind of thing that was forced upon them at one time, that was put onto them. And when you realize this as an individual person, you look at all of this completely different. It's not the same as when you are still in your conditioned thoughts and your programmed thoughts and the thoughts that your family threw on you, or you think you gotta be like your friends and you gotta do whatever they're doing and you have to conform to something. You see, I will never, ever, ever be an ideology. But yet, so many people in this world, they fall victim to this mentality. They fall victim to getting hung up on one side of the structure of yin yang that makes everything. They get hung up on one side, and then they're comparing themselves to everybody all the time. And this is where projecting comes from. This is where, look at him. He thinks he's better than me. And then you're thinking you're somehow worse than him because you're projecting that this person somehow looks better than you. Who the hell is to say that you are ugly or beautiful? Nobody can say that. What one person thinks is beautiful, another person can think is ugly and disgusting. It doesn't matter anymore. These things don't matter. Yet, yes, they are things to be used in music and videos, talking like I am, and maybe philosophy and public speaking and stuff like that. But when you're a person that you're not comparing yourself to anybody or anything anymore, then that is when you will be free to live your life and express yourself how you need to express yourself in that time, in that place, in that moment. It doesn't matter if you're depressed, then you can talk about how you're feeling depressed because that's how you're feeling. You don't have to hold back for anybody. You don't have to say, oh, I can't talk about this because if I talk about this, they're going to think this way. See, it's a projecting thing. The projecting needs to go completely. If the projecting does not go, then we're going to be comparing ourselves. We're going to be getting hung up on one thing and blaming the other thing. And this is what so many of us do. And I even get caught up in it from time to time, if I'm being honest. And every time I do it, I find myself being disgusted at myself because I'm telling myself, Nate, do you realize what you're doing here? You're comparing yourself to something that doesn't matter. It's extra baggage. You see, but I can't say for myself that I am jealous of a rich person. I don't want to be rich. I don't want that responsibility. I don't want all that money, because all that having a lot of money attracts is fake people, fake and phony people after your stuff. And success is another thing that is bullshit. Like, okay, you want to have a little mom and pop's shop and you want to run a little business to make a living. That's fine. I have no problem with that as a person, because that's what I'm going to do in the future sometime myself. And it's going to happen. It's just, see, I had to first examine myself. I had to first dig deep into why I respond how I respond. Like, I had to take a look at all sides of and angles of my own life. I wanted to make sure that I could look into a camera honestly, even though I might be a little nervous or I might have the natural things going on, that's okay. That's being a human. You see, someone like me, I am done putting on for people. Absolutely done putting on for people. And I do not care what other people think, even though my brain will say something like, hey, Nate, this person might be thinking this about you. I know that it's bullshit. It's just a thought. And I had to analyze all of these things in my life. I had to make sure that when I said what I was saying, that it was the 100%. And it's not even about 100%. It's just a knowing that you know that you know that you know what you are saying is not bullshit. It is straight to the point, right off the top of the head, because you have looked at every piece and nook and cranny and every little thing. And yes, I would say be serious about things, but then don't take life too serious. You see, the contradiction is always there. If we could examine the contradictions and we could examine pessimism, optimism, if we could do those things, we could have a better understanding for ourselves that we don't have to try to fit into this place anymore. What is the point of trying to fit in anywhere? That's all it is. It's applying pressure to the person trying to do it. If you want to have a time with a woman, have a time with that woman. If you want to, and I'm not going to get into every example because there's no need to do that in this video, but all I'm saying here is the only freedom that I see in this life is being neutral and staying away from being one-sided about everything. Seeing something in one light. You call yourself a dark person. Are you really all dark? You don't have any light in you. You don't have anything that you do that is a bit brighter than dark. So how can you call yourself that? And then if you're somebody that calls yourself a saint or a holy person or someone that is on the side of light and everything good, then you know that sometime life is going to happen and you're going to have to get honest with yourself, but you won't. You'll be in denial when you're like that. You won't let go of the fact that something went wrong for you or it didn't work out the way that you wanted it to because your expectations were so high of the good thing. Or people that are just always looking at everything in a negative light. They are both in and of themselves if you're looking at a pendulum with a thing here, and there's a thing here, a scale here and a scale here, and you just look at everything in a negative light, then you're going to be held down by that thing. I can't look up as I'm held down by this. And then if you're up here, I'm held up here, I can't get off this rope. You see what I mean? That they are both something that all it's doing is crippling the individual. And all we do most of the time is we cripple ourselves with this stuff. Even though there's the monotony of life, which I can't stand most of the time, like going in here to get food. Today, I don't feel so bad. It's okay. I'm going in here to get food today. I'm in a better mood. So it's not that bad. But when I'm not in a mood, I can't stand doing this stuff. I can't stand going and getting food. I can't stand having to wake up and brush my teeth and comb my hair and get in my car and drive and hi, hello, how are you? What can I get for you? Yes, there's days where I can't stand that, but I don't let it cripple me. And there's days where I'm up more and I'm feeling better, but I don't let it cripple me. I don't stay there. You see, just because I'm making a video today where I'm feeling a bit better and I'm doing a bit better, it doesn't mean that the next time I'm not going to be complaining and saying how I'm getting tired of this or whatever. And this is common sense stuff. But all I'm saying is quit putting so much pressure on yourself because of the extra baggage in here. See, when you get rid of the extra baggage, when you get rid of all of what you've been conditioned to think of how you need to be for other people, the way that you think they want you to be, when you get rid of all of that, yes, for me, it was a very hard thing to do. And lately, I have been very angry, if I'm being honest. But see, my anger is because I see what is fair and just in this world. I see when people are out of control, when they have no discipline. You see, I see these things in people because I used to see it in myself. And I say to myself, why do you do that to yourself? When I look at certain people, I go, why are you doing that to yourself? But I know that they don't know because they're doing that to themselves. And that bothers me because I don't want that for that person. You see what I'm saying? Because I actually do care. I actually do care about your well-being, and I care about my well-being. I care about everybody's well-being. But at the same time, I can't have this expectation for you to make a lifestyle change for yourself. I can't have an expectation for you to do what I know that I would do when I'm looking at you doing that thing. And yes, it does. It bothers me. It bothers me. But yet again, if it bothers me, I go, I understand, because one time I was like that too. I did those things too. Sometimes I still do those things from time to time and slip, but my mind is always saying, I did this before. You see, I've picked up on when I do this, I say, Nate, you've been there and done it before. Nate, you know better, Nate. Nate, you know what happened that time, Nate. Nate, you seen that before. Nate, you know why they're doing that. And you kind of get in this mode of it's almost like you're not even trying to, but you're almost forgiving people because they know not what they're doing to themselves. Yet again, you know what you're doing when you do it. And if you know what you're doing and you're responsible for yourself and you take accountability for your own actions and you're not hurting any other sentient creature, then it does not matter what you do. It does not matter what you do. And when people bring this extra baggage to you, when people are blaming you or judging you or projecting all their stuff on you, then you realize that they're not dealing with their own thing. They're not seeing this for themselves. They're not taking accountability for themselves. So they have to project it on you. They have to throw all their views and opinions, and you should and you shouldn't. Why do you do this and not this? Do this, don't do this. And people that are like that, I know that these are people that do not have a higher understanding, a higher vocabulary of understanding in the way they go about seeing and examining and understanding the things that is in front of them, or things in everyday life, the monotony and the repetition of everyday life. These are actually things that they are so much common sense. They are common sense things so much, yet we lose touch of common sense in this world. We tend to lose grasp of the most common sense things. I was watching a video, and I am not criticizing this person. I am not talking down on them or talking up to them. But I was watching this video of this guy talking, and what he was saying, it was his opinion and view on something, but he had the crowd convinced of what he was saying, that everybody was agreeing. Everybody was like, yeah, yep, because he had a strong voice. You see, he knew how to talk to the people. You see, he knew how to move the crowd and persuade them so they believe him, because he can do that. That doesn't mean anything. Don't be fooled by charisma. Don't be fooled by somebody that can talk good and can do all the gestures. This is the same thing Adolf Hitler did. An Zuzengreipen, an swingen am Akreinden. And, he did all this stuff. He was literally practicing in his spare time doing that to deceive the masses of people. And he did it. He deceived people like us into doing the most horrible atrocities ever committed in history. And there was atrocities in the past too. But he made people do the worst things to other people because of an ideology that he was convinced was the right ideology. His blood was the right blood. So, and blood and son on the blood. And he's doing all this stuff. And the people, he rallied the people together and they believed this stuff. All because of a strong voice, somebody that had charisma. And look how many people he led to do things to other people in the name of an ideology that wasn't even real. It was a figment in the mind of the imagination. And that's how easily people can be deceived and convinced today to do these atrocities and to do these bad things to other human beings because of charisma. See, we're taught that charisma is a good thing. It's a thing to be looked up for. Now, I like when someone's charismatic, but they're not going to fool me with any of that stuff. They're not going to trick me with any of that shit, because I'm listening and I'm observing and I'm knowing what they're doing. I'm already on to them before they think that they're going to, persuade me in some kind of way. I'm already on to that. And see, every one of you out there, you should be keen to these things already. If you've been listening to people like me, you should be keen to this kind of stuff. You should know when people are trying to get you to be convinced by an ideology that they think they have to follow because at one time they were convinced themselves through circumstances and other people that this was the right ideology, not the wrong ideology. This is the right ideology, not the wrong. I can't get up. You see what I'm saying? I'm making a point here with what I'm saying. Me, I stay neutral from all of it. I stay away from all of it. I don't get involved with any of the bullshit where I know it's going to lead me to some place where I don't want to go. I already caught wind of this. And this is why I think the only true freedom for an individual is to be responsible for yourself and to know your limits and to have discipline for yourself. That is freedom right there. There's no other freedom than that. And that is the purest form of freedom, is knowing your yin and your yang, is knowing your black and your white, your light and your dark, your sky and your ground, your up and your down, your left and your right, your cold and your hot. Knowing when you're pushing things too far or you're not doing anything about anything. Knowing when you're being too negative or too positive about things. Because over time, the one is eventually going to counteract the other one, and you're going to be right back where you started, but yet you took yourself on this whole chase and race and you got yourself discouraged over nothing. And even me doing this video, it doesn't mean anything at all. It means something right now as I'm speaking about it, because this is my life. Of course, it means something to me right now in this video, but after I upload it and after people see it, it's gone from existence. It's just for this moment video. It's just for today, or it's a reminder for people. That's all. It's just a reminder. You know, I ask, where do we think we're getting here? Where do we think we're going? You see, this is why I'm asking people, why do we do these things? Why do we hold on so much and we don't release when the time is right to release or the time is to release? What are we holding on for? Now, I understand if people that do semen retention, if you want more energy, then you do that. That's fine. If you think that that's making you healthier, that's fine. But if it's causing you pressure and pain and misery and agony and thoughts of, why am I doing this? I don't want to do this anymore. Then right there, you're forcing yourself to do something you really don't want to do. You're trying to do something just because you think the world is going to approve if you're doing that for yourself. See, these kinds of things I will never get involved with again, because I know that it's me being fake. It's me not being my genuine self. And I'm not ever not going to be my genuine self. I'm always going to be my genuine self, no matter what situation I'm in. There's no need for me to lie to people. There's no need to lie. I mean, we all lie a little bit from time to time. When someone asks you, how are you doing? How many people say, all right, okay, I'm fine, when really they're not? So that's a lie. We all have these sweet little lies, but I'm talking about lies that are just completely unnecessary, that we lie about all because we're scared of what another person will say or think of us. And we lie about things. So anyway, I'm about done here. I got to get in here. I am sweating to death in here. This car is about 90 degrees. But yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit, vent a little bit, and that's all it is. It's just venting. It's just expression, speaking. That's it. It's nothing to take serious. It's nothing to get our panties in the bunch about. It's nothing to take too seriously or not take serious at all. It's just think before we do things, basically. And a lot of us, I don't think we think before we do some of the things we do, or we don't even understand why we do some of the things that we do in this life. And a lot of it is unnecessary extra baggage. There's no need for it to be in our lives. And I had to get rid of a lot of it. I had to examine a lot of it. I had to take an honest look at every little detail of my own life before I could get to saying a video like this. So that all that matters is that I know it for myself. Just like if you know it for yourself. That's all that matters. And if you're not hurting anybody, you're being responsible and you're not polluting anything, you're good. You're good. Do whatever it is you want to do. Live your life. And don't let anybody hold you back. Don't let anybody tell you you can or you can't, you should or you shouldn't. Oh, we don't do that. That's a sin. That's wrong. Oh, yeah, you could do that. That's right. Yeah, that's the way to go. See, that's all just another person pushing their views and opinions on you. And we absorb that and we say, oh, well, they don't approve of me, so I have to change what I'm doing. And then you're back to trying to be what you're not. See, this is why this must be recognized. If this is not recognized, then right when someone comes along and has a different view or opinion of you, they're gonna with that, and you're gonna blow over with the wind. You're gonna blow right over and say, oh, well, I can't do that now. I got to do this because they don't approve of it. Oh, they told me that they didn't like what I was doing, so now I got to do something different. And then you're on this chase again of trying to be something you're not. If you don't have people that support you for being you, you got to let them go. And be honest with them. Say, look, you're not supporting me for who I am as a person. You're not taking me as I am. You're not listening to what I need to say as a person. So therefore, there's no reason for you to be in my life. And every one of us should say this. Every one of us should say this for ourselves and the person that might be projecting these things on us. You know, speak up. Speak up when the time is right. If you think that someone is doing that, say, look, if you don't support me for me, if you don't take me as I am, if you don't let me express myself and say what I need to say, then this isn't going to work. It's just not going to work. And it can't work because there's always going to be that tension there of you have to be this way. Why aren't you being that way? You should have been this. Why didn't you do that? And it will go on and on and on and on. And people that don't know themselves, right when someone comes along and has a different view or opinion, you're blown over. Oh, now I got to try to be something I'm not. I got to go do something that they're doing. I have to change what I'm doing because I actually liked what I was doing. I was interested in what I was doing, but they're not. So now I got to be something different. That's absolutely insane to me. Never conform. Never, ever, 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 ever conform. I don't care if there is 1 million people in front of me that are saying you shouldn't do that thing that you like doing. I'm going to say, well, then you don't like it. I do, so I'm doing it. This one guy here, I'm going to do it. And I know to be responsible. And it goes right back to what I was saying. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not polluting anything. And I'm not doing anything to myself. So I can't do any wrong. I can't do any wrong then. There's no way that I could do wrong. So basically, that is the quote, saintly person that understands both his bad and his good side. You basically are the saintly sinner, kind of. If you know, and that's not really the right term. You're kind of the person that what you thought was a sin before, it wasn't a sin. You were just being irresponsible. You see, you weren't in control of the actions that you took at that time. So basically, I am the saint of my life and I am in control of my own sins. It's because I know when I'm pushing something too far. I know when something's wrong and I know when something's right. And I'm telling you, here is another thing. The world will try to guilt trip you. They will try to convince you you're wrong. They will tell you you're doing something bad because they think that it's that way. So if anyone has been on my channel for this long, if anyone ever comes across my videos and this is something foreign or new, this is not meant to be a stumbling block. This is meant to be something to learn from. It's meant to be something to help you along in life. It's meant to remind you when you need a reminder for yourself. And even though I might look like I'm serious in this video or I'm taking this some kind of way, I'm not. It just looks like that. It might look like I'm taking it serious. I'm not taking it serious at all. Even though when the time is to understand it, I will understand it. And I know that I go on these tirades. I know that I go on these things for a while. But sometimes the person that has an attention span that actually listens, sometimes the brain can just not get this until you hear it many times. Just like we've been programmed and conditioned with things. See, what I would like to do is look at everything and observe everything, but yet sort it out and clear out the extra baggage, clear out the things that are unnecessary. And I have already done that. I have did that before, and I'm still doing it as I speak, but I know for myself there's not too much more for me to know as a person. So therefore, all that I can do now is live my life. All that I can do is treat myself accordingly the best way. All that I can do is eat as healthy as I can to be as healthy as I can. All that I can do is be honest with myself. All that I can do is do what I want to do when I do it, as long as I'm being responsible for myself. And that's all that it is. And all this other stuff is just venting, talking, speaking. It's nothing to take to heart. It's nothing to get anyone's panties in a bunch. It's nothing to take personal. It's just words. It's words and expression. That's it. That's all it is. So anyway, whoever got this far in the video, thank you for any support. Cheers. Live your life and do what you got to do. Later on. Take care of yourselves.